authority of fathers and husbands. That means it was said that if their fathers or husbands wanted to give them the rights, they could give, otherwise not. Throughout the 19th and the early 20th centuries, women and non-propertied men opposed opposition movements demanding equal political rights. So there was constantly a fight going on so that the non-propertied men and the women should be given the equal political rights. That means right to vote. In the economic sphere, liberalism stood for the freedom of markets and abolition of state-imposed restrictions on the movements of goods and capital. We have studied just now that there was restricted movement of traders and merchants. They could not move around freely wherever they wanted, and they could go for business. Their movement was restricted. So in the economic sphere, what did liberalism mean? Liberalism meant freedom of markets and abolition of state-imposed restrictions on the movement of goods and capital. During the 19th century, this was a strong demand of the emerging middle class. The middle class wanted that this restriction of movement and restriction in the market should be abolished. Market should be free for everybody and movement should be free for all. Let us take the example of the German-speaking regions of the first half of the 19th century. Napoleon's administrative measures had created out of countless small principalities a confederation of 39 states. Confederation means a union. Each of these possessed its own currency and ways and measures. A merchant traveling in 1833 from Habsburg to Nuremberg to sell his goods would have to pass through 11 custom barriers and pay a custom duty of about 5% at each one of them. Duties were often levied according to the weight or measurement of the goods. As each region had its own system of weighs and measures, this involved time-consuming calculation. The measure of cloth, for example, was the L, which in each region stood for a different length. An L of textile material bought in Frankfurt would get you 54.7 centimeter cloth, in Mainz 55.1 centimeter, in Nuremberg 65.6 centimeter, and in Freiburg 53.5 centimeter. So we can see how much discrepancy was there in weighs and measures. Such conditions were viewed as obstacles to economic exchange and growth by the new commercial classes, who argued for the creation of a unified economic territory, allowing the unhindered movement of goods, people and capital. So the merchants, the businessmen demanded that this discrepancy should be done away with, so that without any hindrance their movement of goods, people and capital could be possible. In 1834, a customs union or Zollverein was formed. Underline this. A customs union or Zollverein was formed at the initiative of Prussia and joined by most of the German states. The union abolished, underline, what did the union do? The customs union Zollverein. The union abolished tariff barriers and reduced the number of currencies from over 30 to 2. The creation of network of railways further stimulated mobility, harnessing economic interests. Harnessing means supporting economic interests to national unification. So in order to bring about uniformity and in order to solve the problems of the merchants and traders, what was done? Abolition of tariff barriers, reduction in the number of currencies from over 30 to 2. And a creation of network of railways. A wave of economic nationalism strengthened the wider nationalist sentiments growing at the time. So these were some of the reforms which were brought about to bring liberalism or freedom in the economic sphere. Now children, in our next history class, we will continue from our next heading, that is a new conservatism after 1850. Have a nice day.